Hey y'all, I'm Mike, the RV inspector and technician,
And I'm Elizabeth. I run our business.
and welcome to the Cozy Camper Podcast. Oh, hello Tommy.
Hey Mike, how are you?
I'm doing real well, man. Thanks for being here today, and for everybody listening, all 200 of our listeners, you're Tommy Ray Bradley.
Yes,
You're the tank cleaner, man.
I am.
Tank Rangers.
With
Central
Tank Rangers, yep.
How? So okay, first, what exactly is a tank? What do you do, man? Like, tell me, what is a tank cleaning?
Tank Rangers specializes in cleaning and your RV holding tanks and educating the end user on how to use and maintain their holding tanks moving forward so that they can avoid issues as best as possible, you know.
You know, we were joking right before we started about making jokes about this, and then you called the toilet user the end user,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, dude, there's the joke right there.
Yeah, yeah.
No, but so you're cleaning the holding tanks. Basically, everyone uses their holding tanks wrong.
That's what I have found.
What do you find? Like when people call you, what's their complaint?
Most of the time, I get called out when they have a clog in their black tank.
Mm-hmm. So is black more than gray?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Okay. And what I have found, the number one culprit is flushing baby wipes.
Oh, okay. So like even the adult wipes and stuff?
The adult wipes, the wipes that say they're flushable,
Yeah.
will clog up those tanks in a heartbeat. And I've spent a lot of hours clearing the wipes out of black tanks.
So what do you just like have to blast it with?
Well, we start off with the reverse flow,
Mm-hmm.
reverse flush valve.
Okay.
Start off with putting 5 gallons of water back into it from the bottom up.
Mm-hmm.
See if anything breaks loose. You know, if you can judge because we have a clear plastic fitting, we can see what comes out.
Yeah, I think I have one.
Yeah.
You just
So you can see what comes out. So, you know, if you get a lot of drainage from the first back flush, then I'll up it up to 10 gallons and keep incrementing in 5-gallon increments, you know. But the most you want to put in is 20 to 25 gallons at a time. The idea is not to fill up your black tank every time and flush it, because most of the solids settle at the bottom.
in like the little belly part, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, you just want to add 15 to 20 gallons at a time. But you have to start off in increments because you have no idea how much water is actually
Trapped.
in that tank, right? The baby wipes are number one. The number two issue is people just don't understand how important it is to use lots and lots of water in their black holding tanks.
Everybody wants to game it
Yeah.
and just like bloop, and like make it drop down, and then it's just a big ball of solid matter that's collecting there.
And so what led me down this road with Tank Rangers is I've been full-timing in an RV for 3.5 years. So I've experienced the odors and the slow drains and finally the poo pyramid
Yeah.
in one of my tanks. And, you know, when I first got my RV, I did like I think most people do. You get on YouTube and you start watching videos and, you know, trying to educate yourself. And I honestly thought I was using plenty of water and tank treatments and, you know, but the poo pyramid got me one day.
Yeah.
So I went back to YouTube and Google and started searching and called a local RV tech to come out and see if he could clear my tank, and he couldn't make it. And he recommended to me and walked me through how to use the reverse flush valve method. So I went to Camping World and bought the Valterra reverse king valve and a water flow meter, so you know exactly how much water you're putting back into that black tank at a time.
Right. Because you can blow those up.
You can blow them up. You can create a lot of damage. You can blow out the rubber seals between the toilet and the tank itself. You can crack the tanks. You can cause them to if you overpressurize them by overfilling them, you can cause them to swell up. Well, when they swell this way, they shrink this way, and you can actually cause them to drop. You know, so you really need to know how much water you're putting in those tanks so that you can avoid those issues.
So it's funny that you're here today because like today my Elizabeth was like, "Hey, the black tank's kind of smelly," and I was like, "I haven't really done anything with it in a while," so I went and dumped it, and then I got my gallon meter out, did the same thing, right? I just put 5 gallons in it, dumped it, put 5 more gallons in it, then I put a tank treatment in, and I was explaining to Elizabeth, I was like, "Yeah, I don't think we have any problems." I'm like, "This is like a maintenance. I want to make sure there's like 25 gallons of water when we flush it. So, let's make sure there's tons of water in it." But I have done it before. Everybody looks at me like I'm supposed to be the expert and I make no mistakes. But not even that long ago, I was filling up a tank in my last RV, and I got distracted while I was, and I had it closed. And there's a sign on it that says, "Do not fill this thing up with the thing closed." I got distracted, then I heard boom, and that was the sound of the tank pressurizing. Like I ran out, dumped it, and that thing came out like a fire hose of poop. I came burning out. But you're right. Like YouTube is full of really bad takes, like people that are confidently incorrect, and they tell you to do all kinds of things, and like they tell you to do all kinds of things that are just straight up wrong, and they repeat it like it's gospel. Like something that like we try to do is I try not to say anything on the internet unless I'm super confident in what I'm saying and I can cite a source. So if I can like point at an owner's manual that says like, "Hey, do this," and like a great example is like these Schwinn tech slides. Everybody and their brother says lubricate them and do all this other stuff. I'm like, I hear what you're saying, but the manufacturer says don't do that, right? And then like you're saying right now, like they're called flushable wipes, but everybody in your business and every plumber I've ever talked to was like, never flush them.
That's right.
Under any circumstance.
In any sewer septic system, period, you should not be flushing wipes, much less your RV holding tanks.
But they say right on them they're flushable, bro.
They do, but they do not break down. And I had 2 in the last week due to baby wipes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it something that's going to happen fast, or is it going to take a while?
Well, the lady I did most recently says she's been using these flushable wipes for a few years now. They're full-time RVers, and she's never had an issue. Well, finally, she went to drain her black tank, and she knew she had a clog. She tried everything she could do to clear it, and finally called me out. And on the first back flush, again, I just started off with 5 gallons. A huge plug of baby wipes just come down the drain. They actually plugged up the valve and the slinky right there where you could see it in the clear plastic part, which turned into a fiasco because I ended up having to break it open to clear it, which was not lovely. It was not lovely at all, but it had to be done.
Yeah.
You
can't just leave it like that.
No, I mean, it wouldn't drain. And now it was stuck in my reverse flush valve / slinky, right where it connected, and you could see it. Just a huge plug of baby wipes. Odd thing is after I got that down, I did a second back flush, and I kid you not, her tanks were just as clear and clean as you could possibly imagine. They were clearly maintaining their tanks well,
but they just couldn't
but
overcome.
the baby wipes ended up biting them.
The related, does it make any difference what toilet paper you use?
I have found no. Again, that's another topic that I've searched on YouTube over and over again, and
because some people swear you have to use the crap, no pun intended, the crappy like RV toilet paper, and I was like, "Why?"
Septic safe.
I just buy it from Costco.
Yeah.
And I put it in there, and it doesn't. I see it come out in like little bits.
I've never run any tests on my own personally, but I've seen them on YouTube now for whatever that means, and from what I could tell, no matter what kind of toilet paper you use, they tend to break down pretty fast.
Right.
You know.
It doesn't, to me, it doesn't seem to make, the flushable wipes are they're a non-starter, right?
Absolutely not.
But like as long as you have water, it seems like as long as I'm not going to shame them, but we had some family. We have another travel trailer, and it's like our in-law suite, and so we had it parked right next to us, and they came to visit, and so I set it up for them, and they were here for like 4 days. They used like 4 rolls of toilet paper, and like introduced like no water into the system at all, and I ended up having to I jury rigged, like I took some pieces of PEX and like put a garden hose fitting on the end, and I came up from the top and I just blasted it all down. But there was like a cannonball of toilet paper just right at the top, and after I dumped it down into after it finally made it down into the tank, it just dissolved over, and I filled the tank up, 3/4. It just dissolved like any paper it would in water. But that's I think, because we do RV owner education, and it's like you try to tell people you just got to use tons of water, like way more water than you think. And we like in our house, what we tell like our son, I don't know if you can tell, he's little, but we tell him like, hey dude, flush it and count to 10, because it's gonna flush. What we do as the adults is we flush it until the bowl is full, and then we drop it. And the theory for us is hopefully the impact of that much water will like break up whatever's at the bottom. I don't know how effective that is, but however you do it, it's like just kind of get some dang water in that tank, man.
What we recommend and I find it more practical is, you can't just go out and drain your black tank, wait for it to stop draining, and then close it and shut it and call it good.
Right.
You can't do that. These tanks, the way they're designed, will leave a lot of solid matter behind, and that's where the reverse flush valve comes in handy. Every time I drain my black tank, I back flush it a minimum of 2 or 3 times until it comes out to my satisfaction.
Reasonably clear.
Reasonably clear. You're not looking for sparkling clean water.
You don't want to drink it.
You don't want any more big slugs of paper and solid matter that come out. And once you're satisfied, use the reverse flush valve and introduce minimum 10 to 15 gallons of fresh water back into that black tank. Close the gate valve on the rig itself, right? Now you got 10 or 5 gallons of fresh water in that tank before you even ever start using it. And to me, that makes more sense instead of standing there with your foot on the pedal trying to fill up your bowl, or hitting the flapper and leaving it open while you add a lot of water that way, because now the sewer smells come back up into the RV. Sure does,
every time you do it that way.
So I think it's way more practical and way more useful if you when you rinse and clean your black tanks, which you should be doing every time you drain your black tank.
Nobody does that.
No, hardly anybody.
Nobody does that.
No, but hardly
everybody.
Anybody.
And it's like we'll be guilty of that. It's like I work 6 days a week in the field.
Right.
Elizabeth's home, and so if the tank fills up,
Correct.
she's gonna go out there and dump it, and then come back in, and then she might do it 2 or 3 times before the time I go out and do it. And then when I do it, I put on my technician brain, and I'm like, oh, hang on, let me go get my valve and let me flush it out. I did it today. And then I'm the one who will put in 5-10 gallons with my meter and then start from scratch. I look at it as you starting from scratch.
Right.
After you get it cleaned out. But like, number one, most RVers, you can't even get them to keep the tank closed. Probably half of them.
Big mistake.
Which is the worst thing you can do.
Absolutely.
It's worse than even the baby wipes. And then, because then you got poo and the baby wipes. And then, but like trying to get them to flush every single time, or they leave their, maybe they are really motivated, because I've seen this before too. They'll leave like their flush hooked up, and then maybe there's like a kill valve on the ground or something, right? Like a little quarter turn valve. And then somebody, when they're cutting the lawn, will walk over and kick it, turn that valve on.
Yeah, that's not good.
And then they're not even home. They don't even know what's going on. And so like you've got like reasonably, it's probably not the best idea to leave that flush connected.
I would say no.
But like I'm excited that they want to take that good care of their tanks.
Well, I've had a personal experience on my own rig using the reverse flush valve method, but got distracted and wasn't really paying attention and didn't have my gate valves set correctly, which anybody can YouTube reverse flush valve on YouTube.
We'll put like a link in the bio.
yeah,
so
and
people
see
can
how
see it.
to do it. It's not difficult at all, but I got it wrong this time. And I'm out doing whatever I'm doing, talking to a neighbor, and I walk around and I realize my valves aren't set right. And I'm like, expletive.
Yeah.
So I go and turn the water off, and I go inside my RV expecting to see a flood or whatever. Check the main bathroom, open the lid, nothing. Went to the secondary half bath and opened it up, and there was water in the toilet bowl. And I was like, what's your first inclination?
Flush it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's under pressure.
Oh my gosh, yes. All over me, all over the bathroom.
Oh man.
It was horrible.
Right.
Because
Because you panic. You're like, I gotta get rid of that.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah. And so, fortunately, no damage was done to the RV itself, other than a little bit of loss of pride and embarrassment, And
Had to take a long shower.
I had to clean it up. I had a date that night to go dancing here in New Braunfels, and had to call her and say, hey,
I got the poo on me.
I had to clean it up right then and
Yeah,
there.
you can't leave that.
You
can't
so
come home to that.
It's easy. It's easy to get distracted. What I do when I'm flushing my tanks or working on somebody's rig is I stay right there.
Yeah.
And I'll talk to the RV owner because we go overboard to educate them.
Yeah.
I show them exactly what I'm doing. So next time they have an issue, like the lady with the baby wipes this weekend, or it was Monday actually, last Monday, I showed her where to go buy the reverse flush valve and the water meter. So if she has an issue,
Yeah,
moving
it's just
forward-
something you can throw into a box and
I think every RVer should have it.
Yeah.
That reverse flush valve and the water flow meter. A lot of people use the onboard black tank flush, which is fine. It's better than nothing.
yeah.
But I find the reverse flush valve method to be a lot more effective.
Yeah. Well, because those other ones, like, they're not really. There's not a lot of pressure, right?
No. So if you leave your gate valve open, basically that water is just running down and leaving the solids behind. Now, on every RV that I've seen, it has a warning label to make sure you leave the gate valve
Yeah,
open.
it says specifically not to do that.
Right. But if you're using a water flow meter and you know exactly how much water you're putting in through the black tank flush valve, you could close your gate valve and put in 5, 10, 15 gallons of water. You're not going to overpressurize the tank, and then open it up and flush it. And actually a combination of both, closing it, filling it, as well as just leaving it open and letting it run for 10 or 15 minutes.
Right.
Is a good combination.
Yeah.
But I still feel like the reverse flush method is a lot more effective.
I don't because I have one, and actually I'll tell you the circumstance that I bought it. I have one of those valves. I have several actually, but I have the first one I bought. I had a renter back when we had rental RVs that they just filled it with toilet paper and didn't flush. So they had this. It's like 3 days. It was 8 people staying in the RV. In 3 days, they had made this horrific pyramid. And that's how fast. If you do it wrong, you can tear that black tank up in a weekend.
Absolutely.
And I had to do the same thing. I filled it from the bottom probably 10 different times before finally the plug broke, and it was a deluge, down. Finally, I was in the Crestview RV, the shop in Buda. They have a park there, and I bought some of my rental RVs there. And they were like, oh, yeah, anytime that you want to come through and use one of our dump stations, as long as nobody's using it, it's fine. But I'm not speaking for them. I should probably edit the name of the place out. But they were like, yeah, for you can do it. Because they were envisioning I'd pull up, dump, and leave. And I was hoping that's what would happen. I ended up being there all day. Like I was there for hours flushing this thing out. I had one of the things on the top trying to blast this thing out. And the service manager, super nice, was like, "Hey, what are you doing? like,
Right.
like get out of here." And like thankfully, I was basically a brand new baby technician then when that happened. Thankfully, I had some knowledge about what was going on. But like if you are Joe Schmo and you're trying to take the family camping, and the commode is exploding in the bathroom, dude, that sucks. That
It's not fun. It's not fun. And I guess, like in life, a lot of times you learn things the hard way,
we learn by doing.
right?
That is the universal truth. Is that like I could open a book for you and you could read it, but we really learn by doing. You got poop splattered on you, and like you were saying, like, oh yeah, you have to stand there and pay attention. One of my very first inspections, I was filling the freshwater tank up, and I got distracted. I started like doing something with the oil or the engine, and I was like, oh, I'll set an alarm. At some point, like I think the alarm rang for like a quarter of a second, and like I hit it and it turned up, and I never recognized that it went off, and I got distracted doing this other thing, and the water tank. I didn't know this about freshwater tanks. Is that when you fill them and they pressurize, it will pressurize through the faucets. Like water will begin to come out of the faucets.
Wow.
And I didn't, at least in some systems, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
And it makes sense though because it's pressurized.
Sure.
And that's what a water pump does. Is it makes pressure. So it backfilled through the pump and then out through all. So while I was outside living my life, all of the sinks inside were filling. The bathroom sink filled first, and it overflowed like into the drawers and stuff and was dumping onto the ground. So I was outside, and then boom! One of the there was like a flexible hose for from the tank to like the drain outside. It exploded finally, and water, like that's what got my attention. It's like as water started dumping out there, but then I looked and there was like water coming out of the slide. I cleaned it all up. There wasn't really that much water because it was just like right here in the slide. It was dumping out. I ended up having to fix this this tank drain thing. I just went to Home Depot and fixed it. Everybody knew it was an honest mistake, but when you are filling your fresh tanks, like you said, like you've got your tank. If you're filling any tank, your gallon meter
Yep.
is critical, and you have to know how big your tanks are.
Correct.
But like with the black one,
And don't depend on your sensors to tell you
they're
how
worthless.
full they are. Yeah.
A lot of tank cleaning people, and I know a few, they love to say, like, oh, if you have me come in and hydrojet, we'll fix your... Is that real?
I can tell you from my experience that 90 to 95% of the time, yes, you can get them clean and working again. The inherent problem is the way they're built and designed. It's just old, outdated technology.
It's just like a little light sensor, right?
They're going to fail again.
As soon as something solid touches it.
Right, right. So most of the time we can get them clean and working again, and that's something we strive for on tank cleanings.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not going to last.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, no, and like, and that's... so, tank cleaning, I was totally unaware of until like 2 years ago. And I think that it's kind of the same thing as an inspection, because like if someone's tank is full, their brain, or if their tank is clogged, they're probably like, oh, I should just call a technician. But like, no, there's a whole separate group of people that comes out and deals with they deal with just tanks. I don't think that the public is like super aware of that, except I see the marketing where it's like, hey, yeah, if you have the hydrojet guy come out and blast the inside of your tank, it should make your tank sensors work again. But then I'm sitting here, an experienced RVer, and I'm like, I don't even look at my tank sensors.
Correct.
Like if it's full,
Yeah.
I'll look at my toilet and it will still be there.
Yeah.
If the gray tank is full, it'll back up into my shower.
That's right. Or kitchen sink.
Right. It'll back up somewhere.
Yeah. One of the first times in my RV, I wasn't particularly careful about what I put down my kitchen sink, and I was cooking or grilling something and had a lot of spices left over on a rack, and I went and washed it all down the kitchen sink, and then all of a sudden it started backing up.
Mm.
Tank sensor said it was empty. Again, I'm relatively new still
Yeah.
at this. Wasn't a part of Tank Rangers yet. Um, so I am sitting there with a plunger, trying to plunge it, thinking it was all that spice that I just flushed down and
Like it's stuck in the P
in
trap
the
or
P
something.
trap.
Yeah.
You know, took the P trap apart. It was clear.
Mm-hmm.
Got on the different Facebook RV channels and posted it, and someone mentioned, "Is your gray tank full?" And I was like, went and pulled it. It was slap full. You know, again, you learn the hard way. And you cannot depend on those sensors. They give you false readings all
Right.
the time.
Yeah.
It could either be reading full when it's not. It
Mm-hmm.
could be reading empty when it's full. And again, it's just outdated technology. Although they have come along with a newer
They have those
sensors
that they like tape on and
the outside, and I'm not really familiar with those and how effective they
They
are.
seem to be a little better though.
Yeah.
I see them in the motorhomes. They're like
Right.
taped onto the outside, and
Right. And I don't know if they use infrared or ultrasound or how they're.
It's better than the little light sensor that.
It's better than the old school. They're like plugs or anodes or something that are drilled into the tank at
Yeah.
3 different levels. Well, the minute you get any solid material on those sensors, they
So
just
it-
give you
right.
false readings.
And like solid can be like sludge that hardens. It doesn't
Correct.
have to be like literal waste.
no,
it's
it
like-
could be toilet paper.
It's like struvite has built up on this, and then now it's
correct.
trapped in there forever until you come in with the hydrojet and blast it out.
Right.
And then it's like, well, the clock's just going to start again.
Correct.
We
correct.
used so we had a what was it? Unique is the toilet. They have a product where they're like, hey, if you let it soak in this overnight, it can restore the tank sensors. And I was like, let's try it.
Okay.
Right. And it took 2 treatments, but
Yeah.
it did. I had to do it twice, but it did. My black tank sensor was now accurate again. The first time I filled it up, it became inaccurate again.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm very upfront with my customers about that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good chance I can get them working for you again today, but I just cannot promise you
They're going to stay working.
how long they're going to stay working.
Right.
Correct.
Because people have asked me, and they'll be like, hey, can you make my tank sensors work again? And I'm like, if they're mechanically broken,
yeah, though that's a whole different
if they're broken,
yeah.
maybe, depending on how they're installed and stuff, we can take a look at and put a new one in, depending on the tank, right?
Yeah, right.
Sometimes you have to replace the whole tank,
Right.
and which is the dumbest thing in the world. But some of them have like that kind of like plug that you can take in and out. Anyway, it's like, but yeah, like, is the juice worth the squeeze at that point? Because you have an infallible tank sensor, and it's when you can look down and see that it's full. Like
That's right.
That's because that's how we know. One of us will flush. This is a really gross conversation. One of us will flush, and then you're like, oh, it didn't go anywhere. And
I've been there.
yeah, and
done
you're
it.
like, oh, it's
Yeah.
still right there. And then
Yeah.
you're like, I got to go out and empty the black tank.
Yeah. Yeah. I mentioned I had 2 tank cleanings last week, both of them due to baby wipes. The first one I went on, nice gentleman, had 2, like a 4 and a 5-year-old boy in the camper with him, only had 1 bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And he calls me out on a Sunday, and I was like, okay. So I went out there, and I've learned the first thing you want to do is just walk in and open the lid and see if there's anything in the
Yeah.
toilet bowl itself. His toilet bowl was full to the brim. I mean, he didn't stop using it until he couldn't do it anymore. Reeked of ammonia,
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, I can't add any water to this system with this
Right.
at this,
It's
so-
gonna flood.
yeah. And so I had to break off and go buy a little 5-gallon wet shop vac, which I needed on my truck anyways. So it was cool. I needed it anyways. Was able to suck out what was in the toilet bowl.
Enough just to give you some space to work.
Give me some wiggle room.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm using the reverse flush method, or even
Right.
if I was using the onboard tank flush valve, you can't add any water to the system in that condition without creating more of a problem
Yeah.
than you've got, right? Anyways, that tank, I spent 2.5 hours flushing baby wipes out of that tank.
Mhm.
It was just nasty. but got it cleaned. Even went in and Cloroxed and wiped down his toilet bowl and toilet seat and toilet lid, and there was some stuff that had splashed on the wall because again they used it until they couldn't.
Until it couldn't be helped anymore.
So I cleaned it all up. So in the end, all they had to do was walk in and use their bathroom.
Right.
You know, and was glad to do it.
Yeah. Well, it's I'm glad to hear. A lot of guys would be like, "Oh no, the mess is yours."
Yeah.
But I hear you say like, "No, I'm already here. I presume you're wearing some kind of PPE." It's like I can clean it up. It's it's fine because like a lot of dudes would just let that be like, "Yeah, no, I cleaned the tank."
Right. And
the
I could have
bathroom is
walked
yours.
away, but when you sucked everything out of the toilet bowl, it just left this nasty residue.
Yep.
Right. And I didn't want to leave the customer like that.
Right.
I could have. That wasn't my job.
Right.
But in the end, I'm like, I want to give them the complete experience. I'm thankful you called me out. I left it to where all they had to do was go in and use their bathroom again and kindly explain to them, never, ever, ever flush wipes. It just don't do it.
That's what we're gonna have to retitle this episode. We'll take your name off and
Yeah.
we'll never ever ever flush wipes. That's like you can't. Admittedly, I get frustrated because like I have, which to me is a big platform, right? We have all in. We have like 60,000 followers right now, and it's across all of our platforms combined. We have about 60,000, and that to me feels like a big platform, and I'm out there spreading a message. But 60,000 people is really not that many.
Right.
Right? Like it's not across the whole United States. That wouldn't even fill, a stadium.
Right.
So, not that I'm knocking it, but it's like, so like in this podcast, I was like, "Hey, here's what I do." Like when I talked about like flushing it for a long period of time, and then you're like, "I hear you. I'm the subject matter expert. What you should do is fill it instead rather than leave it open." And I'm like, "Sweet. You've caused me to change what I want to do." The problem is, which is great. I love it. The problem is like there's not enough Tommy Rays on the internet actually telling people what to do, or some people will get. Every plumber that has a social media channel says, "Do not flush wipes." Any single one says this.
You would think nowadays in this day and age that that's pretty well common knowledge amongst everybody, not just RVers, but anybody with a septic system, even on city sewer. You've seen the stories of the treatment plants in town, how much effort they have to put in cleaning out baby wipes. You would think it would be common knowledge nowadays that that's just a huge no-no, but people are still doing it.
They should. It seemed like it didn't become a problem until we've had baby wipes forever. Until someone decided we should sell flushable wipes.
Yeah, right. Okay.
For adults.
Yeah.
It seemed like when adults gained access to baby wipes, that just all because where did baby wipes go when they were for babies? They go in the little diaper genie.
Diaper bin. Yeah.
Exactly. They've always gone in the diaper genie. I've raised a baby, right? They all went in, and it was at the time we had, flushable wipes, and it was like. Looking back on it, I'm like, okay, so for my son, diaper genie, they go in the diaper genie. But if for me, they get flushed down the toilet, and we have to have, the sewer snake man come out and and jet out my sewer, and it's like, all right, well, these RVs are much more fragile than a house, so it's like, hey guys, if they're bad for your house, they're 10 times worse for your RV, and they're going to become a problem much faster because think about how big like a city sewer line is, right? Like because they don't usually clog. I shouldn't say they don't usually. I'm sure they do clog in the residence, but they more commonly clog like at the utility level, right? Like in the city sewer down the street.
Right.
And it's like, oh well, that's not my problem. The city has to come out, but you and all 40 of your neighbors created that problem, and God help you if you have a septic.
Yeah, right.
Because there's a dude on Instagram. He's got like 1 million followers. I think he's called like the Poor Pumper Society, and literally all he does is make videos of him I forget what he calls it, but he has like this like machine that he puts down into the septic tank and breaks up whatever's there, and then they suck it out into their truck and drive it away.
Right.
Basically, every video is exactly the same, and he just talks over the top of it, and then like he gets 100,000 views and he sells stuff. And even with that dude, who I don't know how many people, I don't, but let's just say he has 1 million followers. Even with that platform, he's still every single day,
Got
like, cause
business.
even he's probably search engine optimized for his area, right? And every single day he's out pumping septic tanks that are full of baby wipes, despite his best efforts, despite his best efforts in spreading the word against it. So if you're in that business, you're gonna be in business a long time, because people are gonna keep leaving their black tanks open. They're gonna keep flushing all manner of things that need not be flushed. I guess one thing I did forget to ask you was, what about gray tanks?
Gray tanks have their own issues. Not so much clogging up, but having residual buildup inside with grease and food particles and whatnot. And it's more so the kitchen galley tanks than if you have a separate gray tank for your shower. It's more the kitchen galley tanks. And you'd be amazed when we go to clean those out, the stuff we can pull out of it, and the odor sometimes is more powerful than the
Because
black
it's like
tanks.
decomposing food and
So when you go to drain your gray tanks, you don't have to back flush them necessarily, and you certainly don't have to add 5 or 10 gallons of fresh water like you should with your black tanks, because all you're putting down it is basically fresh water with some food particles and whatnot.
right.
But they build up their own and create their own, mainly odor issues inside the RV, and it's a foul odor when that stuff starts breaking down. A lot of times it's more powerful than the black tank.
So are you a tank closed guy, a gray tank closed guy, or you leave your tanks open, or what do you recommend?
Closed.
Closed.
Yeah. Unless you're camping and you've got 4 or 5 people and they're all taking showers back to back to back, getting ready to go somewhere. Yeah, go out and open your gray tank, and then when they're all done showering, you can close the gray tank back up. Same way if you have a washing machine in your rig, like a closed washing machine.
Yeah.
While you're washing clothes, yeah, go out and open up that gray tank. So it just,
Yeah, some of the owner's manuals for those washers say you have to open them.
right, because I have no idea how much water those washing machines
They use a lot. Like some of them use a lot,
but I
especially
could
if you put on like a heavy load or something.
I could see you filling up a gray tank really quick and causing issues.
Yeah.
So, in those circumstances, yeah, go out and open them up. But when you're done, close them back up. A secondary thought is creating a P-trap in your slinky discharge hose and leaving it full of gray water, not black water, but gray water.
Right.
And that creates a secondary boundary for sewer gas and sewer flies to infiltrate the RV. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No. We have one set up there
Yeah,
right now.
I set one up on my rig. I teach my customers, even if you keep your gray tanks closed, like me, I'm by myself in my RV, so I don't have a need to leave them open.
Right.
I just wait till they get full and I go drain
And you
'em.
kind of know, like you figure
Oh,
out,
yeah.
like when we're, it takes us about 2-3 days to fill up a gray tank, and there's no drama with your gray tank, so it's like you can just like, oh, I'm drinking my coffee in the morning, just walk over, open it,
Right.
go back,
Right.
sit down. Whereas your
Right.
black tank requires a little bit more effort to
Yeah.
back flush, and your gray tank, and we have the electronic buttons,
Yeah. Oh, nice.
so it's just like bloop, and then
I want to add those to my RV so bad.
They're
Is it
pretty-
very difficult?
No, this came with it.
Okay.
They're not hard to add. You just have to take off. Usually, you have to take off. You totally drain the tanks.
Yep.
And you're gonna get some on you either way. But
Yeah.
you take off like the gate valve, and there's like a replacement gate valve that you put in, that's got like this little actuator on it. My criticism of Brinkley on this matter is they should have put the buttons inside.
Right. Right.
I wish they would have put the buttons inside because I still have to go outside to, and like right now our gray tanks are open. Well, no, right now they're closed. We usually leave them open, but every now and then I'll fill it, and I call it a flush. So like I'll take like a super long shower. I'll put a tank treatment in and I'll dump it out. So we go back and forth on this issue, but it's like they took the time to wire it, and my tank is like my gate valve is like under the kitchen sink right there,
Mm-hmm.
and then the buttons are like in my pass-through bay over there. So
Right.
they wired something for it's further. It's a longer wire run from where the tank is to where it's wired now than it would have been to that kitchen cabinet, and so it's like I wish that they would have just run the wires into this kitchen, because then I probably would keep them closed all the time. And then like when the shower back, you just walk by and here, bloop, open it, and then close it. But that they didn't. If Brinkley ever watches this, you should move the buttons inside. And let me get on my soapbox for a second. There's an app. I have an app that controls like a bunch of the lights and stuff, but it doesn't control any of the outside lights. So it controls like these patio lights, but it doesn't control the cap lights. It doesn't control the lights underneath. Those buttons are outside. And I'm like, I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, wait a minute. Every light in here that I can control with my phone, there's a button for inside. The lights that I can't control from the inside are the ones that I would like, oh shit, I left my cap lights on. Let me go outside and turn them off.
Right.
Those are the most important ones to be able to control inside, and I can't. Anyway.
Well, I got a different school of thought from you. If you're going to drain your tanks, even though you have a nice snazzy electric gate valve, which is very cool, because some of mine are difficult to pull.
Oh, yeah.
One in particular. But if you're going to open a tank, to me, it would seem like I would want to be outside where I could at least see what's going on in case something happens.
There is an argument there.
The hoses, I've had one time where the slinky came off.
Yeah, and she's dumping sewage all over.
So to me, as a practical matter, I would want to be outside when I'm opening and closing, just in case something were to happen.
Right.
Is my school of thought.
There's an argument there for sure.
Yeah.
It's and it's like every time you design something, you're balancing we made a video the other week about furnaces and about how they're hard to service if there's no door.
Right.
And
Seen it.
And it was like there's a conversation between design and an engineer and a technician, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And so it's like, for me, I'm like, oh, convenience, I wish the buttons are there, but like you're the guy who has to actually fix the thing.
Yeah.
And so you're like, no, it's better that they're out there, and here's why. And like all RVs are like, realistically, the electronic gate valves are far more likely to fail than the manual ones like this. Just like cable ones are more likely to fail than the ones with the
Right.
So
right.
it's like there's a constant like push pull over like features and what's the most convenient for Mike and what's going to be better for Tommy when he has
Right.
or what's going to make Tommy have to not come because Mike can't break it. Or I'm not dumping raw sewage, because dude, I've done it before where I've hooked up my hose, and I missed that bottom rung.
That's right.
And then I'm
very easy to do.
Yep. And then I'm like, oh, let me open it. Doosh,
Yep.
and that brown water comes dumping out onto the ground. I'm not proud of it, but I have done it.
No, it's happened to me, and it's not pretty. I've had it splash me from the knees down before.
Yeah.
Black tank.
It sucks.
Sewage going everywhere. RV owner standing right there. She was very cool. Understood.
Sometimes there's nothing you can do.
Yeah. So I, when I got done, I got my garden hosed and hosed off the pad and, cleaned it up as best I could and soaked it down with lots of water to, saturate the poo material that was out there. And then, in a day or two, it's going to be broken down.
It's gonna be fine.
And gone.
Yeah. How I guess maybe I should ask you this earlier. So you're like a franchise owner.
Yes.
For Tank Ranger.
Correct.
So you own how does one become involved with Tank Ranger? Because it's a bigger company.
Yes.
So I followed when I met you probably 2-3 months ago, and I just like sat down and I Googled or I went on Facebook. I'm like Tank Ranger, and I don't know, I had how many thousands of followers, and I was like, oh, dude, Tommy's killing it. I was like, this is great. He's got all these followers, and then I was like, oh, wait, no, like that's like the
That's
corporate
corporate. Yeah.
entity, and then there's like,
Yeah, right. We
a
got franchisees all over the country, and they're bringing on more every day.
how'd you get involved? How'd you get involved with Tank Rangers? How'd you pick them?
Well, it went back to my firsthand experience with the poo pyramid in my own RV. Uh, was able to, thanks to a very kind RV tech that turned me on to the reverse flush valve and the water flow meter, I was able to get my tank cleared and draining again, but I was convinced that there was still stuff in that tank.
Yeah.
So I went back to YouTube and Google and started searching, and I came across Tank Rangers, either Facebook or website, I forget. But it had a link, become a dealer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just clicked on it, and that same day I got a phone call back and got talking to them and realized where we live right here in Central Texas, there's so many RV parks around here.
In New Braunfels
Yeah.
specifically.
Right. A lot of full-timers, a lot of weekend warriors. You kind of got the best of both worlds around here. And I was convinced there's a need for this service. So I bit the bullet and bought in, and very thankful I did.
And they kind of train you. They give you some
flew
support.
me up to Idaho to a Grand Design rally up there, which was very interesting. I didn't even know that these RV manufacturers had rallies. I didn't know that was
I've
a
never
thing.
been to one.
I didn't know that was a thing. But it was all these Grand Design people coming in from all over the country. They had Grand Design had their mobile service techs in these huge work trucks.
I know
mean,
exactly what you're talking about.
rigged out to the max.
Have you seen their giant trailers? They have like they have a couple of like 45-foot like gooseneck trailers that they bring with them for like their big jobs.
I don't think this show was that big, but
Okay.
they had like 3 of their trucks there that just spent the day running around
Fixing
and,
all the warranty stuff.
yeah, doing warranty stuff, and which I thought was a fabulous service. You can get your rig taken care of
Yeah.
right here while you're at a rally.
And it makes you like the brand more because
Yeah.
those people are like the ones who are so like those are the ones that are most invested in the brand because they
Right.
took the time. They took the time to go to like the rah event, right?
Right.
And then like while they're there, they had like the value add, like oh
Right.
yeah, we'll fix your RV at no cost to you at a time that's convenient for you while you're hanging out, going to the food truck, doing what else
Right.
there is to do.
Right.
But they so like when you went there, did you go with like another? Like, did you like link up with other like the Tank Rangers where they started to, like? Did you get to go hands on with like
I
a
went
trainer?
hands on. I went up there and met with one of the owners. There's 2 owners in Tank Rangers. One of the owners up there on the West Coast somewhere, and Washington State, I believe. And he was there. They were a vendor there. They sponsored some breakfasts and seminars and
Right.
stuff, And then they had another franchisees there that they were both cleaning tanks, and of course they're giving rally specials on pricing and whatnot. But I was able to get my hands on quite a few different rigs, that weekend.
And then after that you come back and you kind of open your own chapter.
Yep.
And then now you're Tank Ranger Central Texas.
Tank Rangers of Central Texas.
What's your service range?
My area is anything from Austin to San Antonio. I have a 90-mile radius, which
Okay.
is a protected area that I purchased with my franchise.
Okay.
So no other Tank Rangers can come in and set up. We do have what they refer to as mobile.
I've seen that. I saw there was
yeah.
and those are what full-time RVers that just
They travel. So if one of them were to come through, I have no problem. Come on in, set up.
do your thing.
If you get some cleanings, fabulous. But as far as a franchisee setting up shop here, I have my area.
That's yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I couldn't buy this franchise.
No.
I'm like, okay.
Not here.
I have no interest.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
not going to be a tank cleaner, but God bless you for doing that. No, I saw something on Facebook about a mobile team. It was like mobile team number 3 is going to
Yeah.
be XYZ, and like there's another soapbox moment. The mobile team, like it's from a marketing perspective, like if a mobile team came in here, you would probably almost never know, because it feels to me like it would be impossible for them to generate enough business where it would become sort of threatening to you. And it's like, I mean, I shouldn't say impossible, but it's like this, and we have this conversation on the inspector technician space all the time. It's like if you're an inspector who always lives in San Antonio, you're an established local business.
Right.
You're going to have an advantage because you have time to build a website and relationships, and people know you at the parks and at the RV dealerships. They're like, "Oh, it's Tommy or it's Mike. We know who that guy is." If you're the mobile one that wants to live the full-time RV life, the problem you're choosing to manage is that it's much harder to market, you know?
And I have, they seem to be successful. Some of them are mobile RV techs, and they also do the tank cleanings.
Yeah.
Some of them, like me, I just specialize in the tank cleanings.
Right.
You know, but that's always a question in my mind is, when you're traveling like that, how do you build up interest and get the cleanings, and then you're gone?
Right.
You know, but they do it.
Yeah, and like we have mobile techs and inspectors that they do the same thing. They kind of breeze into an area for 2 or 3 months. They work while they're there, and then they leave. And it's because we sort of do that, right? Like where we're here for like half the year, and then we're in Illinois, Wisconsin for half the year.
Right.
And you know, last year was the first time that we did Illinois, Wisconsin, and everything's like a test. So like we're always like poking to see what marketing is going to be the most effective, and like we don't always have the answer. You know, sometimes we fall on our face, but like, you know, for us, obviously in 2025, one of the best ways to market is just to have a huge social media following, which helps. Like
Yes.
that's like, it's like being tall in basketball. You don't need it, but it helps.
Certainly helps.
And it's like, you know, if let's say I make a reel, and it gets like, you know, let's say it gets, we're bigger now, so let's say it gets 500,000 views. If I can look at that reel, and if it's like if I'm like, oh, that's actually a pretty good ad for me, right? Like, the reason I say that is we just had a really good reel. It had like 500,000 views, but it was really an ad for like the RV inspection service more than it was like a commercial about me or a
Right.
reel about me. Like, I'm the one talking about it. I'm an inspector, but I'm like, here's how you can find inspectors.
Right.
And
Right.
so I was like, I don't really want to do this. But if it were a better reel about me, like I had one about an RV inspection that I almost got electrocuted on, that had like 1 million views. Well, that's one that you could like go onto Facebook and boost within like a 10-mile radius of where you live,
Right.
so that only people in that like 10-mile radius
Yes.
will see it. And then like a very small area, like I heard you say 90 miles, that's too big, like 10 miles. And like if someone's like a new creator, maybe that video is like 10,000 views, something good for a new creator, but like in this, you know, they're not Mr. Beast doing 1 million views or something. But it's like, all right, so I make some content, I get 10,000 views, and then I boost it so that for like a month, for like $100, $200 a week, and then all these people in my area that have some connect, because you can go into the thing and into the or the Facebook console and pick like RVers, camping, outdoor enthusiasts, their age group, their approximate location, and if you just hyper focus on that like small area just for public awareness, like that's something you can do. So if I'm like, one of my goals is like, I'm like, I want to be the most famous RV inspector that there's ever been. And I'm like, I want to be able to just go wherever I want and point my social media at it and like
Yep.
repeat this process over and over again. That's kind of the plan. But like for new businesses or newer businesses, it's like, it's not like you're going to go out there and like what I tell for like people for new businesses, I'm like, it costs you nothing to make a reel. Even if it's like, it's going to be super not professional at the beginning, right? And it's going to feel ridiculous.
Yes.
But if you just keep working on it, if you just keep like all right, you know, like we were talking about Poor Pumper Society. All he does is he makes a video of what he's doing, and then his edits are very simple. He has a voiceover he does at the end, and then it's done. Like there's no special effects, there's no real text, there's nothing crazy about it, and he gets like millions of views. So I'm like, oh, well, yeah, Tommy could probably do something substantially similar in his space. And then like once you get that 10,000 view banger, then you boost it, and you see if you get more, if you get some business
Yeah.
out of it. But like something that frustrates us is we'll do 300,000 views or something, and it'll turn into like 2 inspections, right? Like it turns into like 2 inspections, and then but like then some dude in California gets an inspection, and some lady in Nevada gets an inspection, and someone in West Virginia get like all these second and third order effects happen. So like, and it helps boost your visibility, but like it's not the only thing that you can do, but like it's a free thing
Yes.
you can do. And like some that actually has been really beneficial for us, which I think would be great for you, is the classes that we do.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you do like the first part of our conversation today where you were just like, hey, this is what I do, like that was a class.
Yeah.
And like the way you explained it, like if you just like maybe every other Monday, like go to a different park
Yes. Yes.
and do that, like I think you would do like really, really well. I think like if I'm we started talking about this because we're talking about the mobile guys. If I'm a mobile guy, I'm only going to be in an area for 6 weeks.
Right.
I'm calling that area 2 months in advance.
Yes.
And being like, hey, can I do a free class
Yes.
at your?
Yeah. We refer to them as tank talks,
There you go.
and I've had a couple, somewhat successful, but I'm finding, at least in the last few months, a lot of the parks around here weren't really open to it, and they said get back to us after the first of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that will pick up for me, because you can generate a lot of leads by holding some of those classes.
Yeah, it's only going to be what we have found too, and like I was kind of saying, like the inspector thing, like what we have found is that it's very unlikely that we intercept someone while they're searching for an RV. It's far more likely that we put out a reel and somebody sees it 6 months. They're like, hey, next year I'm going to go buy an RV.
Right.
And then we have to find a way in that time to keep them and hook them. So it's like, hey, come to our website, sign up for something. We get your email address, and then we can send you newsletter or, emails, whatever else. Or set up a consultation with us. We'll talk about the inspection process. The same is true with, like, on the classes. Like, hey, follow us on social media, right?
Yes.
Like, follow us on social media, and then that's how we stay kind of in their mind, because it's unlikely that you're going to encounter someone that's having a tank emergency at a
Right.
tank class. Like, what's far more likely is that they'll see you, and 6 months from now they'll have a tank emergency, and then they'll call you.
Right.
But like you're not. It's
Right.
almost. Whereas like if when we do hardcore tech stuff, like we just did the what did we do? Sealants was the last one I did.
Yes. Yeah.
I got calls the next day from that one. But it's like, yeah, like I talked about seals. Everybody has seals right now. So, that's a little different with a service, with a specialized service. I imagine that it's more about like long term. It's a slow burn.
It is, and from my standpoint, and I'm just going from my personal experience, but I think that for most people, this probably holds true in this day and age, is whenever you're having an issue, whether it's fixing your lawnmower motor
Mm-hmm.
or a clogged black tank, first thing you do is go to YouTube, Google,
Yeah.
or maybe even Facebook, and start looking
Mm-hmm.
for, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm concentrating on building that footprint. I know I mentioned to you when I walked in, a couple of weeks ago, I finally got my Google business
Google
page.
profile.
Yeah, set up. But when I searched RV tank cleanings near me, I wasn't even on the list.
Yeah. It takes a while, and we're having the longer, I think you told me that now you're populating, it's like the more, because we have Google profile,
Yeah.
but we don't have a physical location.
Yeah, that was a problem. Neither do I.
Yeah, and the Google Maps is always going to prioritize somebody with a physical location over somebody with a service area location.
Right.
And you can have a Google profile and it will show, but it's typically going to be deeper in the stack than because like there's if you Google Austin RV inspection or San Antonio RV inspection, you're not going to see me on Google Maps, even though I have a profile.
Right.
But if you look at the results, I'm typically at or near the top. And when we were working out of our house, I was at like I would pop on Google Maps as soon as you searched it. But
Right.
once we took away that address, bloop, I was gone like that. And I think it sucks, but like you can overcome it if you have tons of reviews. So we're focused right now on harvesting reviews in a big way.
And that's what I have done. I have reached out to former customers and had them place reviews. I've also learned that when I get done cleaning the tanks and I'm ready to pick up and start cleaning up,
Mm-hmm.
the customer is standing right there in front of me. I'll go ahead and send them a link to the Google review
Yeah.
while I'm standing there in front of them. And I've gotten a lot of success because they'll do it right then and there.
Right while they're talking to you.
Yeah.
Because they're in that minute, like
Yeah, they're
so
still
happy with you.
engaged.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas like if you text them the next day,
They'll give you a thumbs up or something and never
yeah,
do it.
never, yeah, they'll just ignore your
Yeah.
text. And it's like for us on our inspections, you know, most of the time my client isn't even there.
Right.
They get my inspection report and a request for a review at the same time.
Right.
Because it's like I'm like they have their email open.
Right. Right.
They can
Yeah.
just do it now, right? And that's I'm not sure why, but like so many small business owners like they spend money on a website, they put a Google ad, you know, they spend time making videos, but then they just like don't want to harvest Google reviews. Or they're mad they don't want to use Google. It's like, hey dude, I hear you don't like Google. I hate YouTube more than anything in the world. I hate it. I hate editing long form videos. I've like for example, I've got this podcast, I've got the last one that I recorded, I've got a long form video about RV inspections that I'm editing, and then I have 3 episodes of a new show that are just sitting in a folder.
Right.
And it takes me days
Yeah.
to make those. And whereas like kind of reels are, you can bang them out on your phone. They
Right.
take 15 minutes to edit. There is such a utility in just blasting out Instagram reels, Facebook reels, because you can make them, you can put them on every platform at the same time.
Right.
Whereas like a YouTube video can't really easily be posted to Instagram and
Facebook or-
Facebook,
yeah.
right? It doesn't really work the same. So it's like, hey, I think if it's me, well, it is me. This is what I do.
Yeah.
Is like, hey, I make Instagram, Facebook reels, and I drive people to like, hey, did you like my reel? Click my website.
Yeah.
Right. One time, I'm not supposed to tell anyone this. One time, I directed my followers when we were starting our Illinois business. I was like, if you really like my content, go to my Google profile in Illinois and leave a review. Don't lie. Say that you like the content. But I went from like 0 reviews on this new service area to 20.
Yep.
Like that. And on the inspection side of the world right now, there's this big hullabaloo. I'll spare you the details, but the inspectors who harvested reviews are being rewarded by a new system, and the ones that didn't are being punished. And not like maliciously, it's just the market is doing that to them. And it's like, well, your expectation was you were going to operate a business and not harvest reviews, and nothing was ever going to happen to you. Like, that's all that to say, like, Google reviews. It sounds like you got a good. Are you running Google ads, or are you?
No. I concentrated on getting the reviews, which I only have 8. Of course, that page has only been up for 2 or 3 weeks. But as of last week, because I'm on my phone searching it,
Yeah.
seeing if I pop up, and I wouldn't even show up.
Right. But now you are.
Now I am. 2 things. Reviews, and then I went back into my business page and edited services provided, which you can make customizable. RV tank cleaning services near me,
Right.
just put a list of different services provided, all pertaining to cleaning
Tanks,
holding
yeah.
tanks, clogged black tanks. And then, bam, now when I search, I'm pulling up either number 1 or number 2 when I search RV tank cleaning services near me,
Right.
RV tank cleaning services near Austin, Texas, RV tank cleanings near San Antonio, Texas. I'm pulling up one or two, which I'm hoping is going to make a huge difference, because like me, if I don't know anybody that does whatever service I'm looking for, you know, that's probably going to be my go-to is go to Google and search it,
Right.
see who's around me.
Just see what.
Yeah,
Just
see,
do a cold Google search.
right.
We find that. So like we have leads. We're gonna get really granular here, right? So we have like really 3 lead sources, 4, but the littlest one is client and dealer referrals. Somebody else used us, and they. The next one is there's a platform called RV Help. That's probably about 20%.
I've seen that.
And it's a great platform, but about 20% of our leads. The next group is our social media, and then the biggest group is Google. And what we find, both paid, we have a paid Google function and a organic Google function. And kind of what's interesting is that like it qualifies the leads differently. So like if we have somebody calls from social media, they fully understand our product, what it is we do, and like they want us because they've been following us for a period of time, or someone recommended us after seeing us on social media. Those leads are like super highly qualified. Google could kind of go either way, right? Because they haven't really seen your marketing presentation. Like if they're really intrepid, maybe they've seen like the video that I put a video of what it is we do on our website. Maybe they took the time to see it, but maybe they just entered it and then they pressed the call now button. So
Right.
it's super cold.
Right.
And it's harder to make the sale that way. The least qualified is the people that go to RV Help because they're going to see there's 15 other inspectors, technicians in the area, and if they don't like what I have to say, they can just go to the next one. So, although usually we've gotten pretty good at explaining why we're the best, in our opinion anyway. But I guess what I wonder for you is, so Tank Rangers I'm sure has some kind of a locator where if you Google black tank clog, if they hit the Tank Ranger website, they can put in the location and find you.
Yes.
So that's one thing, and I bet like that's probably when those come in. Are those probably pretty solid leads?
Yes.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, Tank Ranger's big company. I'll call Tommy.
Right.
If people are hitting you through Google, is that a little bit harder or?
Well, up until 2 or 3 days ago, I wasn't even pulling up on Google.
Oh, there's no data yet.
Right. So, a lot of mine were referrals, much like you. Thank you, sir.
Got you.
Other customers, sometimes you'll be on site and you've got your little sign out and people drive by and they'll stop and talk to you, and then just spending a lot of time hitting up RV parks and talking to managers and leaving my business cards.
Do you go to dealerships too?
I have not been to a dealership yet, no.
Do you want to know something I did too when I was first getting started? And this is going to sound really on the technician side. I'm not gonna go into the details, but for some reason, what I'm talking about is really controversial to inspectors, but not to technicians. I went around with boxes of cookies, and I delivered them to all the dealers, or not the dealers, the RV parks.
Yeah.
And I walked in and I was like, hey, I'm Mike, the RV technician. I don't need anything from you. I've been doing some work at your park. I just want to say thank you. Here's a box of cookies.
Right.
And every dealer I keep saying dealer because it's who I work with now, but every
Right.
park I went to was like, wait, what? What are you doing? You giving us some cookies? And every single time I did that, my sales at that park would, because I can't afford to be buying Tiff's treats.
Right.
They're $30 a box, right? So I'd pick
Right.
like 2 or 3, I'd drop them off, and then all of a sudden that park would like explode for me. Because the little girl that works behind the desk is like, oh, call Mike. He's the cookie
Right.
guy. He's so nice. Whereas on the inspector side, if you bring a box of donuts to a dealership, they're likely to just throw it on the floor, or eat it in the break room and not even think about who it. But it's like
they don't want you there anyway.
they don't want us there anyway.
Right.
So like bringing them donuts, they're like, all right, they still don't want you there, but now they're fat because
Right.
they've eaten the donuts. But it's like it's so hard for the RV industry is like the Wild West and it's so segmented because like Tank Rangers is not the only franchise that does tank. And matter of fact, we won't say their name, but the owners of a rival company stay in the RV park that we do in Illinois.
Yeah.
They're like right next to us.
Right.
They live in an Airstream. Anyway, so but I say that because it's like if you want to go buy a Ford, there's only one Ford dealership in town. You can go to the New Braunfels one, you can go to the San Marcos one, but like those are the only places to buy a Ford. Like if you want to buy groceries, there's only like 4 grocery stores, and like you know what they are, right? It's like you can go to H-E-B, you can go to Meijer. Like there's only a couple. People don't even know that tank cleaning is a separate entity from an RV technician.
Right.
They don't know if they're supposed to call the honeypot people. Like,
yeah.
you know, they don't.
Yeah.
The public is not aware of the difference. And then if somehow they get into the marketing funnel, right, starts at the top with awareness. If they somehow become aware of tank cleaning or inspections as a separate entity, then it's like if you Google, for example, RV inspection in Austin, we're typically in the top 3 results. It changes day to day.
Yeah, sure.
And number 1 and like number 3 are going to be certified NRVIA inspectors. Number 2 is just some guy who says he's an inspector.
Right.
He's not really an inspector. And so it's like you have taken the time, like, hey, I bought a franchise, I went and got trained, I have the equipment, I have insurance, I've done all these things. But if that cold Google search leads them to like, you know, Billy Bob's RV plumbing, and it's just some guy with a hose.
Yep.
So that's like momentum that you have to overcome too. And our solution to that has been the I call it the weaponized social media. Like where it's almost like to a point now where, you know, we're posting on social media so often. I'm actually behind because I was supposed to do a 9 a.m. post today and I didn't. I forgot to make it. But like we're posting so much and so often on social media that the odds of that person somehow getting clicked is declining. Because like I don't really care. For me, I don't really care. I can live with it if they don't click our page. I can't live with it if they hired someone who's not insured or trained.
Yeah, correct.
That really bothers me. And I hear about it, right? They'll be like, oh, like the Lemon Squad guy will come in and like they'll not even know is it a diesel or gas? They can't answer the question, right? So that's where like organic social media, I think, makes the difference because you can't really control what Google does. You can't.
Right.
You can try to game it, but like Google's going to do what it's going to do. Organic social, though, you can tweak it. You can post the same video. Like let's say you make a video. You post because you won't have any data about when your followers are out. You can post it once. Like let's say you posted Tuesday at 7 o'clock. You're like, I didn't really get a lot of views there. 2 weeks later, post it on Thursday at 8 p.m. Right? Just post it again and see if it gains any traction. Right? I've done that. Like what I do is if I get a video that gets more than 10,000 views, I'm gonna post it again at a different time.
Wow.
And I'm gonna see what happens. And sometimes it gets less, sometimes it gets more. Sometimes I posted a video 3 or 4 times, and the 4th time I'm like, oh, this needed to be posted on Thursday at 4 o'clock. Like that's when this video needed to be posted. Or I'll take that same video and I'll edit it to make it slightly shorter. Because like they're not, Instagram Reels are not one-offs. You can make 5, post 1 a week, and like you won't have a lot of followers. Post 1 a week, and then 4 weeks from now, post it again. Until you're in a point where you have like a large, keep making more.
Yeah.
But
sure.
like once you have, like we have probably 200 videos where like I haven't made any videos for this week, so I'll throw reruns up until I get caught up, and nobody will know. They won't because nobody knows. Like nobody knows if they're just seeing a reel for the second time in the wild or if I've posted again.
Correct.
So they don't know.
Correct.
So if you go out and you make, you know, like I said, like you told me you have equipment, so I'm gathering that you either are already or you're wanting to make content.
I am.
Yeah, so it's like if you just go out there, you make your stuff, and when we get off, I'll show you how to do it super easy on Instagram. If you do that, just like keep reposting it over and over again until you don't want to go crazy. I know one guy, he's an inspector. He posts the same 6 photos over and over again just so that it looks like he's active, but that's dumb.
Right.
If you want to have some space between it. And then the other thing you can do to fill it up is, so let's say you start off by, I would say you try to make 5 reels and commit to posting 1 reel a week at for us, Thursday at about 4 o'clock is our busiest time. So whatever I perceive to be our best reel of that I've made that week, I try to post on Thursday in the afternoon. And sometimes I'm totally wrong, and it doesn't work. Like
Right.
I'm like, damn, I thought that was a great reel, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But like you don't ever know. So but post it, and then like every single time that you go out to do a job, every time, like, hey, I'm cleaning a black tank today. Here's a before and after picture. And that way it does a couple things. The algorithm rewards activity, and it rewards engagement. So if you're posting every day, every couple days, just something, doesn't have to be a dramatic post, and then every now and then you post a reel, the algorithm's going to reward that.
Okay.
And you're not going to get 10,000 followers overnight, but you don't really need it. You need 500 or 1,000 followers, and then even if you have no followers but you're getting a lot of views, sweet, because what you're trying to do is sell a real world service. And then what you really want to happen is for somebody to Google Austin black tank cleaning, and like for us, if you were to, like, I Googled the other day, I was trying to see if anybody was talking smack about us, so I Googled like Cozy Camper RV inspection, and it was just page after page after page after page of my videos.
Oh, nice.
So even if somebody was talking smack about me individually, they would have to get through 6 pages of my content on Google before they actually found the dude that was talking smack on me.
Interesting.
So, and that's something you can do today for free. That costs you nothing.
I'm not set up on Instagram, but as I understand it, you can cross-post the reels from Instagram to Facebook.
Yeah, what's weird is you're going to laugh when I say this, right? So Facebook is almost twice the size of my Instagram.
Yeah.
My Instagram's like 20,000 people. My Instagram's, we're going to probably hit 40 coming up real soon. And, or my Facebook, we're going to hit 40. I do almost no work on my Facebook. I post everything on Instagram, and it cross-posts over to Facebook.
Automatically.
Automatically.
Oh, that's nice.
So, like, you have to set it up once, but then
Yeah.
it cross-posts automatically.
Well, I'm going to have to set up an Instagram.
Yeah, you
then.
set up an Instagram, and you connect it, and it's gonna, like, and something I tell, and I haven't been doing this long, but, like, when people are kind of coming up behind me, I'm like, it's gonna feel ridiculous at first. You feel...
It is.
It feels like even sitting in this chair, like talking to us, like from the beginning of this conversation to the end, like even you like calm down. You're like, oh, it's just me and Mike talking. When you're sitting there and you're looking into this thing and people are watching you,
Right.
it feels ridiculous. But like also, dude, like you're cleaning baby wipes. Like
Right.
you're already doing a ridiculous thing.
Yes, right.
So you may as well feel uncomfortable. And if if that ridiculous feeling yields one sale, it's like totally worth it.
Yeah.
So have you done anything with your Facebook, Instagram yet? Or you
I-
don't have an Instagram?
I don't have Instagram. I have made one video at the Austin RV show, which didn't get a whole lot of reviews. And what I found was it was on Facebook, but the content was too long. And when I went back and looked in the metrics, the average view time was like 25 seconds.
Yeah.
Which I think is what you're talking about, which is more of a reel.
Yeah. So
you
what
know.
you want is vertical film,
Yeah.
right, with your phone like this. And the most important thing is you get 3 seconds to capture someone's attention.
Okay.
So your hook in the first three, if you had video of that toilet exploding,
Oh, yeah.
if you had video of that, I guarantee if your first video is that toilet going boom,
Yeah.
you get 10 million views.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I have video from an inspection over the weekend where the water heater exploded. It had freeze damage. Nobody knew it. I turned it on and it went boom. And like, thank the Lord, I have video of it exploding. It's not as dramatic as I would have liked, but I'm like, that's a great hook.
Yeah.
And that's why you'll see me in some of my videos be like, I'll say something like, if your RV has this, it's stupid. And then I'll say, that was dramatic, and let's talk about it. I'm finding that seems to be a really good hook. So like something you might try is be like, you're going to blow up your RV black tank if you do this, right? Here's how to do it the right way. Or these people, this is an expensive mistake. Something like that. People, like if you throw that hook at the beginning, and by hook I mean you say it and then have it in text at the top, text hook, strong hook, 3 seconds. That's a recipe for a strong video.
Interesting.
And it's like kind of the way you structure the video is hook, suspense, reward. So it's like, this is bad, blah, and then you kind of tell the story about it, and then here's the resolution.
Right.
And the longer you can keep someone in your reel, the better it is, because the
Sure.
algorithm's going to be like, oh, people are interested in this, I'm going to push it to more people.
Right.
So, like, you've described to me 2 or 3 stories today, and the way you told them was great. Just do that. And then you don't have to do it while you're there. What I'd like to do, I'm not going to say their names because I don't want to give them any air, but there's another RV inspector influencer couple whom I despise. And I think they're destroying the industry. I wish they were thrown out of the RV inspection business. Something that they're really good at is their hooks, where they'll hook people in, like 500,000 motorhome disaster. That's really good. Something that they're bad at is that they'll be doing their inspection, and they stop, and they'll film each other, and they'll talk to the camera on the dealership lot. So there might be a salesman walking by, and this person will be talking like, this is the worst RV I've ever seen, and I can't believe this dealer would allow it. And so you're like taking a dump on, this dealership staff. They probably haven't even touched that RV, right?
Yep.
So what I prefer to do is I'll like film my findings as I go around the RV, and then I'll come home and I'll dub over them.
Right.
That way you're not standing there
Right.
like a goof,
Right. Right.
talking like there's a lady standing there watching you clean her tanks, and you're like, here I am today cleaning out this tank, because that is ridiculous.
Right.
But like, the best advice that you can have in this space is don't make content, be the content.
Understood.
So like, you're already out there pumping, just get a tripod, set it up, have them, do the thing. Then you can like put a speed on it, come home, edit it. You've got a 10,000 view reel. And if you just do that a couple times, like, you don't need to try to be, I hate the word influencer. Like, I'm not an influencer.
Right.
But evidently I do yield influence. So it's like, that was never my intention. My intention was just to make more inspections. But now I'm like having Zoom meetings and
You're a
whatever
content
else.
creator.
I'm a content creator now, bro. And so that's something that any new business owner can do for free that can have results. And then the first time that you get something that has 10,000 views, spend $400, boost the reel, hyper targeted in your area, and that'll be you're not going to like be Bill Gates overnight, but it'll accelerate. And
Yeah.
what we have found is that we kind of go in lurches. So like we're just coming out of a lurch right now, where we lurched forward and we weren't prepared for it, and now we'll kind of peter out, slow down, and then we'll lurch again. And it's really people expect this to happen, but it's not. So like you'll get your first 10,000 view thing, and you'll get 500 followers from it, and you're gonna be like, sweet, and then your next 5 posts will do nothing, and you're like, well, I have all these followers, where did they go? Well, we have all these followers. Like, sometimes I'll make a video, gets 1,000 views. And we
Right.
found that these when I would cut these into shorts, and I would put them on our Instagram channel, it murdered our engagement. It was the worst thing I could do. So I stopped cutting them into shorts, and now I just post the whole thing, and I'll post like links on our Facebook and stuff, and we have a group. But it's all about like just trying different settings and things and times and formats, and like this is all an experiment.
Right.
And even originally it was just going to be me and Elizabeth, but then I kind of figured out, I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like, I can talk to you. We can talk about your business, and then you get a boost, and then I'm going to learn some stuff, and then my client. There's value now, whereas before it was just me and Elizabeth talking about RV life. You told everybody from your position of authority what your biggest problem is, and like about gray tanks and all that stuff. So there's new value. So I'm betting that this format probably do a little better than it was just me and Elizabeth. Not
Sure.
that she's not a delight, but like I had another RV technician inspector on the other day. Like, he presented a different perspective than I have. That's value. I'm going to have, and then I was like, well, why don't I get a new camera, and then I can do like live webcam versions where I inspect people that are far away, because now I don't have to talk to just Tommy, who lives, we met each other, we know each other, but like I can talk to somebody that's in Alaska, and I
Yeah,
can.
no, I saw a podcast you did with two other gentlemen here recently in the last week or two.
I'd have to think who it
There was
was.
three of y'all total.
Oh yeah, I was on with uh, it was on RV. He's gonna be so mad. It was on the RV Voice, and it
Yeah.
was yeah. No, we did that. That was the first one that I'd ever done, like live stream like that, and I was like, oh, well, I could do that. He can do it. Why can't I do it? And the other thing, dude, is like steal other people's ideas all the time, all the time. Steal them, make them better, tweak them, so you're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
plagiarist, bro. You can steal ideas all the time. Like there was a company I got introduced to, and they were like social media managers, and they were like, hey, we're gonna, it was like gonna be like $2,500 a month to hire these people, and I could see their product was really good, and I was like, I wonder if I can just pay really close attention to their Instagram page and like back engineer
Yeah.
what they're doing, and so like I watched every single post they made, and I watched what time they made it, I watched how many hashtags they used, I watched what they said in it, and I was like, oh, I could do that, and I did, and I, so I just stole not their content, but I was like, oh, well, I'll see when they post it, what kind of buzzwords they use, how many hashtags they use, and I'll do it. And there's this other girl that wants to. She's an influencer. She sells like a coaching service, and I'm not knocking it, but I watched enough of her videos to be like, oh, this is how she structures her videos, and it's exactly what I described to you, right? Hook,
Yeah.
suspense, reward. And I was like, okay, I don't need to go to her class. Maybe I will someday, but I'm like, I think I have reverse engineered it. So it's like I brought up Poor Pumper Society, like reverse engineer what works for him because it's a substantially similar business,
Yep.
but like do it a little different. And the best, you know, I guess it's like this, like in the home inspector business, I looked at that and I was like, well, how can I replicate that, but for RV inspectors? And there's a bunch of home inspector creators. There's Cy Porter out in Arizona. There's Texas Gold Star. There's a bunch, and they all have like a different flavor. Like Cy has this like he's like on a mission to torch the home building industry, right? He's extremely hostile. There's another dude. He almost like mumbles to the camera, and he's like, "That ain't right," right? And like that's funny. And then there's another guy, and his catchphrase is, "It's not supposed to do that." They're all home inspectors. They're all showing you bad things. They just each have just a different little flavor.
Flavor.
But
Yes.
it's like it's not a completely different. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yes. Understood.
So like I said, I tell new inspectors all the time. I'm like, watch what I do, copy it, figure out what I do, and then, or new technicians, figure out what that some other popular tech does and copy it.
Well, I'm going to be working on that. Like you said, it feels awkward filming yourself, listening to yourself
Yeah.
on video.
It's bizarre.
I just feel so out of place and so awkward. I've been told by others, no, you're fine. You have a great voice. Your appearance is great. And I just don't feel it. But I think it's one of those things you just have to get in and do.
You do.
And get past the uncomfortableness and the awkwardness.
And people are going to talk shit to your face.
Yeah.
And you have to just ignore it.
Right.
And so, like, when people get in my comments and they like want to insult me, I'm like, oh, I can't hear you over the bank account, right? So, like, like, I don't really care. And that's the thing too, is like, sometimes there's an argument to, I don't do it a lot, but sometimes I'll be intentionally unclear, or maybe I'll call something the wrong name, right? Like, and what did I did a video the other day, and I described something as underlayment. It's not what it is. It's just the wood decking of the roof. And I had these comments. They were like, oh, it's just wood decking. And I'm like, really? Why do you think that? Because comments drive engagement. Engagement
Yes.
gets views.
Gotcha.
I don't care, right? Like, I don't care if you don't like my videos. In fact, I love it. I love it when dealer techs get in there because I'll mess with them.
That's funny.
I'll sit on my phone on the toilet, and I'll be like, oh, you're not a real tech, right? Like, just because I know it aggravates them. And then they'll get in there and they'll start arguing with me. And I'll be like, okay, thanks for the engagement.
Understood.
50 people saw this video.
That's fun. That's interesting.
But yeah, dude. So if people if they want to find you, they want to hire you, how do they find you?
You can go to our website, tankrangers.com. You can also go to Tank Rangers of Central Texas Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Search me as Tank Rangers of Central Texas. Um, and you can find me either way. My phone number is 737-388-5134. I'm located here in New Braunfels, Texas,
And you go from Austin all the way down
all
to
the way
San.
to San Antonio, and willing to travel a little bit further if need be.
Right on.
You know.
Well, cool, man. It's been hour and a half, so we should probably.
Well, that went by quick.
It did.
I really appreciate
Yeah,
you.
man. Thanks for coming out.
I appreciate you very much.
Yeah. Well, so we'll